So then, we are back with more understandings from the Renewed Covenant from the Aramaic English translation of the Word. This translation is from the original documents of the Hebrews of old, from the time of the prophets of Israel, indicating the time of the end and the many prophecies thereof, so then we can understand our bearings at this time of the end. In terms of the prophecies of old, during the time of Yohanan and beyond until 1009, there was a period of time in our history where lots and lots and lots of secular developments were then experienced. From the time of Yohanan, many of the holy cities became very evident, and then the area in Asia Minor was absolutely busy with trade, many construction sites, and that's why then they had to have then this particular time of the cities, so then they could receive directives to get on with their lives. So then, when they were around the holy cities after Yohanan, then we understand, if you study very closely the development of the world during the time, you find in Asia extremely busy. And then, not only this, but then Rome was also busy, and then Constantine began to envy then the holy cities. And that's why he then, by himself, decided then to change the times and the seasons, thinking that he would be able to give himself directives, and he couldn't. So then much later came the persecution of the holy cities until 1009, when the Muslims then destroyed the holy city and the tomb. By the time the word was very much known around, and then came the time of the deceit. Then was a time granted to Satan, and then the secular people of the world, then those lines were then, those layers were made as a layer, mixed up and twisted, and then did not work. Thus in the time of the church, never worked. So then, in 2009, this gap is then reopened, and then the cities and the holy cities are returning. So then the reason why, it's because then the Chinese are already having their system ready, and they are ready to launch in the world. So then every person with a personal computer can then do trade via online. It's a tremendous time of trade around the world, where we find then a gap of time spoken of in Matthew the 24th chapter and the 6th verse. From 6th and 7th, then we find the gap where then the world is rebuilding. While the world is then rebuilding, and then the nations are then recuperating what they lost, they have to have directives from heaven, because of the great prosperous time coming for a short time. And they have to have directives. That's why the holy cities are returning. They have to have divine guidance. Otherwise they destroy themselves, because the knowledge is so far in advance that they must have a restraint of the divine guidance, so the nations, they know what to do. So then we understand what it fits, because then it came during the time of Yohanan, the holy cities, then the world was given directives. Later Constantine began then the persecution of the holy cities until up to 1009. Then the persecution then had to halt, because they have no more cities to destroy. But since the cities are then returning, then we understand the reason, because then the market of the world is going to have a lot of development, and then the nations must be directed. Otherwise they destroy each other because of the amount of wealth and then prosperity for a time, only for a time during the time of a rebuilding. So then we begin to understand what it means, the balance of then the world versus the divine. We are then finished with the 2009, then the 1,000 years of deceit. We are returning to the truth as per the 61st chapter of Yeshayahu. You find over there the time of rebuilding, the cities laid waste for centuries. Those are prophesied. On that day, then you find future. Those are the holy cities returning. And then as we understand from Yirmiyahu 1:8, the land of Cush must have then a holy city. So then from there, then we can understand what would be the returning of the time of Yohanan. However, the Messiah never told them to stop. The Messiah said always go around the world and form holy tabernacles. So then the words of the Messiah were very clear. So then at this time we are simply encouraging the Hebraic saved people to return to their services because the directives of the nations yet awaits them. They have to give directives, as it was during the time of Yohanan. So the circle or the cycle repeats itself, because the time of 1,000 years granted to his people, then another 1,000 years granted to Satan, then returns to the truth, while then we prepare ourselves for the autumn feast. So then the circle or then the cycle then is closed. And there is a whole lot more, because then there are developments during this time that must be then given, so then the nations can be directed at this end of time, while we await for the autumn feast or revelation. Please stay tuned.